Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome everyone to this afternoon session, which is the presentations for the position of Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Teaching, Learning and Technology. Some of you were here yesterday. I guess some of you are here only for today. But as we did yesterday, please, you are allowed to ask questions. Feel free to ask questions. Challenge the candidates. Do note that this particular position is very key to NAST. So feel free to challenge the candidates and ensure that you get the right candidate in terms of whatever it is that is presented. I also want to just inform you that the presentations that are being made were made within an hour. They had an hour to prepare their presentation, and then they have 30 minutes, 15 minutes to present, and then 15 minutes for question time. So if it looks rushed, it's because they had the hour. But if it still looks good, they had the hour. So nobody's had more than an hour. So I think our first candidate will be coming through. Yvonne? Oh, okay. Here he is. So our first candidate, please do come through, is Professor Asa Romeo Asa. Professor, you're welcome. And I think, where's Yvonne, or do we have online? Okay, so we do have an audience online as well. You may not be able to see it, so just please present. They'll ask their own questions. Where's the IT? IT. Will it connect automatically? Please come, step forward, come and assist him. We don't have much time. He's looking for his presentation. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon. I'm deeply honored to be here. I'm Asa Romeo Asa, presenting my vision towards the topic that we are given, which is right here in the corner: strengthening teaching, learning, and digital transformation outcomes to position NAST as a leading African university of applied science. So, after looking carefully at this theme which we are given this afternoon, I believe that those who crafted it are talking about or looking towards the future of NAST. Therefore, I title my presentation this afternoon as NAST's Future Identity Matters, and I'll be elaborating based on that. But just to take you through the roadmap of my presentation this afternoon, I have an outline here, just to briefly, who is Asa and why is he the ideal candidate standing here today? What is the situation of NAST? We need to understand that for us in order to move forward. What resources do we have? What is there? What is our strength? What are our weaknesses and so on? Then I'll look into NAST's mandate, which we all know, and then I'll craft my vision towards that. I will introduce to you this concept of Generation C, because moving forward, we are dealing with this Generation C, and I'll talk to that. Then, of course, you can't do much without the financial stability of the institution. And I'll talk to that. What are my plans in strengthening that aspect? Then I'll conclude. So just a short presentation. Let me start with a quotation by Albert Einstein. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Very important. What is our perspective moving towards the future? And that's what I want to position this institution in terms of being, African leading institution of applied sciences. Now, briefly, who is ASA? So I have my education qualifications on the other side. The ones in green is what I'm still busy with. So the message I'm trying to send is that I strongly believe in continuous professional development. Therefore, that's why I'm studying those programs and looking into the priorities of this great nation. Therefore, that's the choice why I'm doing oil and gas with energy management at the University of East London. The micro credentials, which I've done also in terms of acquitting, because I strongly believe that the future or the current landscape requires that you need to be multi-skilled for you to survive in that. I can quote the World Economic Forum 2025 report, where it says that 60% of the jobs will be replaced by, 60% of the jobs, actually, future jobs, they need to be reskilled and upskilled. So that's why I need to be multi-skilled in those areas. And in addition to that, I sit as a higher degrees committee member. And as you know, we vet and we approve your research. Therefore, I need to understand from your world of thinking what you are doing. Therefore, I try to skill myself in that regard. So the major contributions, this is very important. I stand with pride as one of the pioneers of the Inanna Satellite Campus. This is the concept I developed in 2019 and presented it to the Queen of Ukwanyama, and it was approved by her kingdom. And this is what we have today. And if I compare it with other satellite campus, I would say this is a major success for me and my contribution to higher education. So moving on again, just to point few things, I will not go to all just for the sake of time. The Nast Seed Living Lab in Groothop with Prof Katende, I don't know if he's here, but this is what we are leading also. And what are we contributing to? In terms of SDGs, that's SDG 6 and SDG 7. Clean water and clean energy. That's what we are contributing to. Every year, I take about 8 to 10 students to Germany, Aachen to be specific. This is a grant we always apply for so that we give scholarship to our students because they work in groups, in groups virtually, but we also give them an opportunity to meet in person and continue working on some of the projects that we've been doing. The thematic topics that we give have been issues from this country, especially in regards to green hydrogen. That's what we have been dealing with. Now, if you ask me, moving forward and driving this institution as a DVC for TLT, what is your leadership style? I strongly believe in a hybrid leadership style. You need to draw or to blend from different types of traditional leadership styles, such as transformational, collaborative, because the world revolves so fast and you cannot rely on a singular leadership style because so many challenges, so many obstacles that you have to face. Therefore, you need to be, a hybrid leader. So, next situation, What are our strengths? I'll move quickly and you can bring me back in Q&A. What are our strengths? Of course, we are the only University of Science and Technology in the country. For those who are working on Bloomberg, I see that as an asset for NAST. If I had enough time, I would elaborate more, because it's an institution of, higher learning. There are aspects, in the industry, for example, GIPF thing. So what are we doing about it is the institution of higher learning. So we need to have impact on society, because we need to be producing graduates that can really make sound decisions, make decisions that are evidence-based, that are data-based, so that we don't make such mistakes and lose millions. So that's one aspect. The close industry ties that we have. MTCs on campus, telecom is always with us. So why don't we leverage? This is a strength for us. This what I call the secret weapon. This Center of Excellence for Information and Technology, CEIT. This is high performance computing, and we need to leverage on this. We need to be leading in terms of patents, in terms of products coming out of IT, applications that can be used out there, that can be marketed. So this is like an underdeployed asset that we have, and we need to look into that. We can mention a lot. There are executive education programs, previously known as CED, which is sitting in the business school. So that's where we need to capture the market in that regard. So weaknesses, the fear of unknown for AI integration in our teaching and learning. I'm saying that we need to allow the ethical or responsible use of AI. It's very important. For example, getting feedback as a student from your assignment using AI before you submit it. This is ethical use, and you improve on that. So I like to quote Strive Masiwa, the founder of Econoids and Cassava Technology, where he says that when it comes to AI, we need to eat the meat and throw away the bones. Meaning, take in the good things and separate the bad things out of it. Because industries are AI powered. Most of the things are AI powered. Our phones, you name it all. So why should we fear this? So let's understand it instead of restricting it. Let's understand it and see how we can ethically use that. In addition to that, we can redesign some of our assessments so that it's not just a report that is being produced. All right. So those are some. Now moving on to my vision, because I'm given 5 minutes today. The priorities: teaching excellence, digital agility. Our societal relevance is very important. In addition to that, we look into pedagogy, people, and policy. I'm saying, especially for NAST, we have invested much. We talk so much about STEM. STEM. And the implications of that, we are neglecting other aspects, such as the human sciences. It teaches you civilization. It teaches you ethics. It teaches you communications. Then we have social sciences, which teaches you how individuals behave, how institutions behave. We need a balance. This is what I'm trying to communicate here. And my vision is actually to build a world-class learning hub that advances knowledge, technological innovation, and entrepreneurship for Society 5.0. So the critical question, transformation to meet Generation C. Generation C is the students that are connected. They are connected before they sleep. As they wake up, throughout they are connected. How do we cater for this student, what we call Generation C? They create, they curate, and consume content online. So this is a different type of student that we are dealing with. This is a different type of student that we are dealing with. We have our students as employers, as employees, as potential collaborators. We need to handle them through what I would prefer is hybrid approach in terms of. So the key questions we ask: who are we teaching? How are we even teaching? These are critical questions in terms of transformation. And what are we really teaching, by the way, if we were to ask, what are we really teaching? Very important. So financial sustainability, how to gain and how to manage. Sometimes we really make money, but are we managing it effectively? And how can we sustain that? Sustenance, I'm talking about building quality and strong foundation of alumni. If we pinpoint, for example, how many of industry captains are we graduating? And that's a strong base in terms of capturing and financing our operations. This is what we need to build. Gaining, there are a number of items that I have listed. In managing, I encourage open source educational resources to lower, costs involved in that regard. To conclude, NUST has the potential to become the regional benchmark for student-centeredness, academic excellence, and technology-enhanced learning. I'm very certain that you need a DVC who has a clear vision of NUST's future identity, who has a proven record of academic leadership, institutional development, and research excellence. By the way, I'm listed as in the top 100 researchers in the country. So it's an honor in that regard. A plan also in translating strategy into measurable results. I thank you.
Thank you, Professor Asa. I would now like to open up for questions from the audience. Please, online audience, you are also invited to send in your questions and they will be read out by our team here. Questions from the audience? Yes.
I was hoping there's no question.
Good afternoon. My name is Semente Rakaimu. Thank you very much, Prof. Asa, for the presentation. I was actually excited with your focus on the Gen Zs. And given the fact that the Gen Zs are really heavily relying on the use of mobile phones for their learning, and that the AI, the AR, the VR, and all other digital platforms are now transforming how learning is taking place and how it's delivered.
Indeed.
I just wanted to find out what your strategies are to ensure that these technologies actually enhance the quality of learning, knowing that I come from the space of quality assurance. So how would how would you ensure that all these technologies are enhancing the quality of student learning rather than becoming some new tools for students? One of the key challenges especially during the advent of all these technologies in QA is how to ensure that the quality of what we get from all these new developments. Thank you.
Thank you. I understand the questions is coming from quality assurance, and it's quite critical, yes. Firstly, before I go to quality.
Prof, I would suggest that you probably make your response very crisp because I have other audience members that would like to ask you questions as well.
Let me be direct to that then. The questions I'll ask. what kind of assessments are you giving the students? What type of assessments and why those assessments? What standards are you setting? What do you want to see out of these assessments? For example, is it innovation? What standards do you set in terms of the assessment? Are you giving them to produce an essay? That will be too easy for AI. So we need to upgrade our assessment from lower order thinking into higher order thinking. And this is where we bring in the type of assessment which will require critical thinking, which will require students to develop projects and even be assessed orally, and you see that there's learning really taking place. That is quality excellence in my view. I wish I could elaborate more, but I think I'm limited with time. Thank you.
Well, let us see whether we'll have a few more minutes at the
Okay.
end, but
All
I would
right.
like to take another question. Mr. Kanji?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof, for the presentation. Now, in your presentation, you touch on that you're going to have an educational hub, but you seem to be privileging human sciences and social sciences. Now, as somebody who has been involved in a graduate survey, the national one, we have found out that most of the students or graduates who are unemployed is within the human sciences field. But you seem to be privileging that. You seem to be moving towards that. Now, we have a lot of programs in NAST which actually absorb so many students from that human sciences.
Yes.
And most of those programs are producing unemployed graduates, saturating the market. Now, as a DVC teaching and learning, are you going to discontinue those programs?
Good
Or
question.
what are you going to deal with them? So that's the one. The second one, the last one is free education, which is going to allow high number of enrollment. So we're going to have more students.
Yes.
When we have more students, we are going to put pressure on the system. As workload of our staff, facilities, even programs are not going to be able to absorb those students. As the DVC, what leadership are you going to bring to resolve that coming, I would say, kind of a crisis or a challenge that is going to face with free education and the load on the system?
I like this critical question. So this is where you say, I'm transforming from STEM into social sciences and human sciences. No. I'm saying, Sogochi, have a balance. Don't just invest into one aspect, because the other sciences are also teaching you elements that are essential in the digital era. You need to understand how humans behave, how institutions behave in terms of entrepreneurship. That social sciences teaches you this important core element. Human sciences, I agree with you. There are programs which I cannot mention here. This is where we need to cap and say, instead of drawing large numbers into these programs, cap it, control the numbers in there. And the programs that are trending, for example, I would propose for you business analytics and artificial intelligence. We need programs like that, pump in numbers. In addition now to free education, to have a world-class university, there are three elements. You need to have excellent talent. That's number one. Talent in terms of who is teaching. Talent in terms of the student that you are attracting. Resources is number two. Lastly is governance. You have the resources to support curriculum that you are designing in case it's project. Do you have the resources to support that? In terms of governance, how efficient are your systems? We have PhDs that since I came here, it was in the pipeline. It's still not yet out. Governance. So these are the elements you need to look into. So free education, let's compete for the best talent. You are good in that area. Attract more of the best talent. Both ways. academics and students. This is my take on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
I see the hand here, Prof. Atiku.
Okay, I would take two questions.
Yes.
If it would be good maybe if you just note them down so that you don't forget.
It's mine.
You may take this. And here's a pen. Okay, I'll take the first question and the second.
All right. Thank you so much, Chair, for the opportunity to ask question. Professor Asa, the youngest professor in Namibia. Thank you so much for your excellent presentation and your passion for educational technology and for mentioning Education and Society 5.0. My question is, how would you leverage AI for educational transformation in Namibia? For example, the need to transitioning from education 4.0 to 5.0, and what do you intend to achieve with that? How do you leverage on that for personalized learning, problem-based learning, and simulation-based learning? Personalized learning, yes. Problem-based learning, yes. And targeting virtual and augmented realities to achieve all that. And how do you use that to achieve Society 5.0 that you spoke about and Industry 5.0 in Namibia? Thank you.
So that's your question one. We've got a second question, and then you can go ahead and respond. Here.
Good afternoon, Professor. Okay, so I have one question for you. We are now have more or less a crisis in pedagogy. If you look at what is happening in the US, what's happening in Europe, we are having more and more graduates who pass their exams but have not learned anything because of AI. At the same time, we have a challenge in the sub-Saharan Africa, for example, in that we are probably 2-3 steps behind in the integration of data science across all programs. What is your view and your vision on that so as to ensure that we do not only produce graduates who are productive in industry, but also who are actually moving with the times?
Which I should compliment.
What is your vision for NAST that will ensure that we will be producing graduates, okay, who are relevant in industry, excellent in industry, and at the same time, who have the essential critical skills for creativity in this era of digital AI and large LLMs. Okay? You got it? Thank you.
Quite mouthful, it's getting there. Yes, all right. Leveraging AI for personalized, problem-based, virtual learning society, my first take. And actually, they are in sync, these two questions. Also, graduates that should be relevant. One biggest challenge with AI and technology use in learning is that we are competing with other applications on the same devices. For example, the mobile phone that she mentioned. On the same device, there's TikTok, there's YouTube, there's Facebook, and all that. So, for you to really harness the outcomes that you are looking for, you need to make learning addictive for them, just like TikTok is addictive to them. Then you harvest all these elements in terms of where you vision, whether it's Society 5.0, whether it in terms of graduates that are graduating, but they don't have that substance. Let's make learning addictive. let me be practical, allow me some time. For example, if we are using e-learning and it's embedded on the mobile phone, there's something we can introduce called a streak of learning. For example, we said 20 days, where you really engage with the materials that you are given. If you fail to meet the 20 days, it resets. That means you did not engage with any material. So you are making education or learning addictive because you are competing with TikTok, you are competing with YouTube and all this. So you need to have these learning analytics so that we have these early warnings also. I only have 2 minutes there. Yes. So this is how, is still around, this is how our position in terms of what outcomes do we want and how do we position technology, be it AI use and all that. Make it addictive. But we are not saying like enforce it. But this is how it should be done. I've been warned with time on the other side. Thank you. All right. Oh yes, how do we leverage AI in terms of problem-based? This, I think I answered it in relation to where we need to scale in terms of assessment. What kind of assessment are we giving the student? Let's scale them from lower order thinking into higher order thinking. Give problem-based scenarios. Give them into their groups. Let them, scrutinize this work. Let them use AI. AI will assist them in identifying what are the core problems in this case scenario. Now, how do we move forward? AI will help you again in terms of brainstorming. But the critical part, AI will not do that. This is where you come in as a group students and engage. And then that's what you present and give to me as an academic to show that you have really indulged. So I'm in support of AI, but to some extent, how do we responsibly use it? That's my take on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we just take, how many online questions do we have?
You?
Okay, let's just take about 2 of them.
Maybe choose the easy ones.
All right, we have a question from Selma Hilu. Well done, Prof. Asa. My question is, what do you perceive as risks in hasty digital transformation? And if there are any, how would you mitigate them while driving innovation? And how would you ensure that staff are well prepared and supported for digital pedagogy transformation?
Second one. Second question.
From Niels Klute. Can you please give us examples on how enrollment planning will be dealt with in terms of free education in 2026? How will you, in the role of DVC teaching and learning, address the current challenges in the system, overloaded classes, underprepared students, digital literacy, and quality in teaching and learning?
In the second question, there's an answer for me to use in the first question. Thank you for giving me the answer, the one who asked. The risks involved.
You've got a minute to respond to those 2 questions.
All right. I will encourage for digital literacy across, be it academics, be it student. I think that's one core module that we need to introduce. I think there's a science module there. So let's consider digital literacy. Actually, this is what, even when we are building our strategic plan, I really fought that. Instead of saying, attract human resources, I said, what kind of human resource are you attracting? And I said, let us be specific as a University of Science and Technology. We are attracting digital human resource, people who are capable, because we live in these modern times. That's the question. The second one, what was that? Engagement. I think this is a national, it's a policy thing. It's not just for me to stand here and say, hey, we are not taking students. Government is our main sponsor, so you need to tackle it with caution. This is an engagement that we need to have. And that ties to the question of my senior here in terms of enrollment. This is where we need to leverage, push large enrollments in the industry or in the curriculum that is quite new to build the new industries that we have. The artificial intelligence program, the oil and gas. This is where we need to move in. By the way,
Prof. Asa, I would like to thank you. Your 15 minutes is up. May we please appreciate him. It's just 2 minutes to prepare. Are they? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, our next candidate is ready. We have Prof. Iphigenia Semente presenting to us the topic. Prof, you may proceed. You have 30 minutes, 15 minutes of presentation, and 15 minutes of question time.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure being here and having the opportunity to deliver a presentation for the position of Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Teaching, Learning and Technology. The topic provided, strengthening teaching, learning and digital transformation outcomes to position NAST as a leading African University of Applied Sciences. I'm Prof. Semente, Executive Dean of the Faculty of Commerce, Human Sciences and Education. Perhaps one would think why we are deliberating STEM, why are we talking about Africa and not just SADC or Namibia. Namibia is an important partner in the SADC and globally. So some statistics in terms of our economic outlook. Namibia has achieved an average economic growth of 4.4% by 2015, was ranked a middle income country to an upper middle income country by 2009. The economy grew from 7 billion Namibia dollar GDP in 1990 to 245 billion Namibia dollar GDP in 2024. So in July 2025, the World Bank downgraded Namibia to a lower middle income country, seen as a temporal setback as per our NDP 6, because we will do what needs to be done to recover our economy. Through government policies, poverty was reduced from 70% of the Namibian household in 1993 to 18% in 2015, and thus meeting the Millennium Development Goals in 2015. However, from 2016, Namibia has experienced setbacks due to global recession and later on from 2019 due to COVID. Estimates indicate that poverty has since returned to the 2010 levels, 28%. Namibia's Gini coefficient of 0.697 in 2016 suggests Namibia has a very unequal society in terms of income distribution. Therefore, equitable access to education, including vocational training, higher education, is paramount for equilibrium in the longer run. So one of the key non-factors about NAST in terms of challenges is the throughput rates of our PhDs. So we have a very low PhD throughput rate, which otherwise should have contributed to scientific and commercial impact, which we tend to miss because of that. Now, what should NAST's teaching and learning ecosystem look like in the next 3 years? I'm quoting the new strategic plan, which NAST is formulating, and therefore I'm very proud also to be part of that and just give you a glimpse of what it should look like. Looking at the vision, strategic objectives in that revised plan. To be a renowned science and technology university in applied research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. That is the vision. The mission is also provided, but I want to take you into the 3 thematic areas which will then form the narrative, not just for teaching and learning technology, but for the entire ecosystem as NAST. The first one, teaching, learning, and assessment excellence in student-centeredness. This is a new thematical area. Before it was building a vibrant and engaging teaching and learning ecosystem or environment. So we have the new one. So the goals are provided there. And one of the key goals there is to increase institutional program visibility. That's one. Improve inclusive technologies and curriculum development. That's the second. Improve student experience and increase community engagement for social impact. These are the variables, the strategic objectives, basically for teaching and learning. I will really not go into the details of the research and digital transformation, although they built into the teaching and learning ecosystem. Because of time, we can always come back if there are questions. What should success look like for NAST by 2030? Number one, expansion of flexible online. Flexible online, we do have already a policy on hybrid and blended learning. So the idea is to expand such programs so as to achieve pedagogical transformation, very key. Just like a butterfly becomes a butterfly through that transformation. So we need to take the steps. So the implications are there, accelerating the development of digital and flexible hybrid learning modes, which requires investment in scalable online platforms. I'll stop there, but that would then require training for both students and staff. Student-centered service delivery, focusing on the well-being of our students as a core priority. So that will also require improving student support systems, also enhance student satisfaction and competitive advantage, very critical. The last one there is academic integrity, pardon me, which talks about the aspect, it revolves around AI integrity, but more than that, also from a professional point of view, conduct, behavior. Therefore, mechanisms for detection, education programs to really speak to academic integrity, and also beyond that, ethics. Now, from another perspective, which not necessarily underpinning the teaching and learning per se, but they have impact into the teaching and learning and technology implementation, is the issue of governance, performance management, and institutional culture. So governance protocols to be made robust, performance management systems to be developed and implemented to measure performance, and as well as instilling culture, which speaks about the way we celebrate each other's achievement, the way we value, ethics within the institution, all issues related to culture and accepting change. With human resources capacity and development, it goes also end in end with financial sustainability, but the implications are staffing, workload management, realignment, so that we then are able to multitask per se, do research, teaching in a way that one doesn't take preference over the other. So we are able to do research and also teach. Also focusing on staff well-being through promotions, not just promotion, also recognition. Financial sustainability, effective debt recovery, very important. Tuition recovery is a challenge. Currently, NAST tuition recovery stands at 44%, despite the large number of registrations. So we need to find ways to recover our finances to be able to then invest in teaching and learning and other activities. Infrastructure development, physical and digital, very important as we expand to regional and satellite campuses. We need to have the infrastructure in place, even if it's prefabricated, to accommodate the expansion, especially now that we are talking about free education. And finally, research, entrepreneurship, and innovation ecosystems to be made robust through collaboration, through technology transfer office, through incubations and acceleration of seed and investments. Now, what would really assist us with that? Some of the drivers for financial sustainability is to be aware of our budget. So looking at our budget from government, we basically, I don't know if the pointer will assist, we get 600 million around there. The figure in between is our tuition recovery. That is for 2025. And putting these two figures together, it gives us the 1.2 billion, which is really the budget. So how do we keep that afloat? We need to be aware of that and make use of resources equitably and efficiently. All right. Financial viability, I will really not go into much depth, but we need to have financial viability. For example, just to mention a few, we need to embark upon fundraising, if possible, real estate and facility rentals, and entrepreneurship partnerships to be able to secure funds. Now, looking at higher education roadmap sustainability, because that is really one of the key priorities. I was asked to talk about 3 priorities. I mentioned sustainability, financial sustainability. I mentioned entrepreneurship. I'm now focusing into the free higher education roadmap, which I have elaborated, but I won't go into the depths. The first key priority there, funding, financial sustainability. I've actually played with figures just to give us an idea. Those are just dummy or for illustrative purposes. Staffing and academic delivery. Make use of part-time staff members because it's starting now in January and we have not yet employed, so we will need contract employees. Student support and retention. Infrastructure and digital transformation, I already mentioned. And governance and monitoring, I'll touch a bit on this one. Establish a free education steering committee. That's critical. Just like when we did with the online transformation, there was a committee. We need such committee to implement because it's a very important government directive. Also, provide quarterly reporting and annual audit and performance reviews. So how we implement the plan? There is a risk register where we can look at budget shortfalls can be high impact. Overcrowding of classes will be medium. Lecturer burnout high. Technology infrastructure, of course, overload because of capacity. And dropouts for those who are really not inclined, but because of the free education they came. So the mitigation strategies are provided there. Diversification, blended learning approach, higher contract staff, cloud upgrades in terms of technology, use the cloud, expand student support. Now, in terms of implementation, because it's now in January, so we need to have a plan. So in Q1 already, finalize budget, recruit additional staff, upgrade ICT where possible. Still in Q1, roll out free education communication, launch support schemes. So we need to communicate to the public what we are into so that they are aware. So we need to have the communication plan. Implement blended learning, expand modular classrooms, media evaluation, adjust funding. So they are presented in 2 quarters, and therefore we should be able to. All right, sources of funding, I will really not go much into that because of time. Government sources, also innovation and institutional models are there. For example, government, we can also have tax benefits, charge tax for higher education, specific organizations with such earnings, specific earnings, to have tax for higher education, etc. Innovation, institutional models, endowment, income, commercial venture, lean operations technology. But in conclusion, free higher education enablers, again, digital transformation roadmap is key. We cannot do without such roadmap. Free education roadmap is also key. I've just presented my vision on that roadmap. Position us as a future-ready university. Capacitate, build your staff abilities. Have innovation hubs and cross-disciplinary labs. I will not say this lab is for computing, this lab is for that. Let's use our labs where they are applicable to one another. Partner with industry, data-driven information decision-making, use data, do research. We should be doing research, and in fact we are. focus on people, training, technology, partnership, and therefore come up with bridging programs for greater access. I have a video, but because of time, I will not show the clip. But in a nutshell, let's echo the vision presented by Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah, President of the Republic of Namibia, saying the success of our country does not depend on one singular person, but on each and every citizen. Each and every son and daughter of our soil must become a catalyst for development and change. So that is the drive, that is the vision, and we are behind that vision. So as the Namibian University of Science and Technology, DVC Teaching, Learning and Technology, we really emphasize on our ability to meet the government agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Semente. I now open up for questions from the audience, both online and in the room. Questions? Yes.
Thank you, Prof. Excellent presentation. You mentioned expansion of flexible online programs, pedagogical transformation. I would like to know, how would you position NUST as a national leader in digital teaching, learning, and assessment institution?
Thank you for that question. If there's a second one, I can take a second one, then she can respond to the two at the same time. Proceed to respond to this one.
Thank you, Mr. Digart, for your question. How do we position NUST as? If you may repeat that one. I was busy picking up the pen on the floor. I missed that.
How would you position NUST as a national leader in digital teaching, learning, and assessment institution?
Thank you very much, Mr. Dihad, for this question. Really, it speaks volume to what we have already have done as university. We were the first ones after COVID to transition to online delivery. It wasn't easy. We have set up a committee that actually worked to make sure that that transition was successful. So it was an implementation plan, online implementation plan. You and I were part of that implementation plan, and we were able to really do justice. Students continued, progress continued, classes took place. But in addition to that, we are also known for very good engagement with the stakeholders. So with stakeholder engagements in the areas of technology, and such as telecom, MTC, they're actually our technology, per se, stakeholders. We are on top of the game. We are aware of the different technologies required. Indeed, we also have a faculty of computing and informatics with very relevant programs in computing, cybersecurity, AI, and so on. By so doing, we can position ourselves, not just Namibia, but across Africa. But you know what? It requires marketing. It requires the vision to really come up with a message which people can see. And then when they come and visit, they are able to also see. And by so doing, we can actually be positioned as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. I'll take, yes. Madam.
Thank you for the presentation, Prof. Mine is based on what we often hear to be the disconnect between higher education, industry, and sometimes the students themselves. So there's kind of a disconnect between the expectations of the student, expectations of the higher education institutions, and the expectations of the industry in terms of what the higher education institutions are producing. it remains a perennial question for quality assurance of education, especially in our country. We often hear that the industries are saying the students that are being produced by the higher education institutions are not ready for the jobs and so on. Now, as a DVC, teaching and learning and technology, what strategies are you putting in place except for the ones that are already there that would make sure that we narrow this disparities that are being experienced? Thank you.
Thank you, Mekaimu, for your question. It's very interesting. And that's really a discourse that we have been trying to find solutions when we go to conferences, when we go abroad and see what other universities are doing. For instance, I speak of the Tenza UNICO project. It's an EU project in which Southern African universities are part, with collaborations with international universities. We are about 12 universities in that consortium, trying to find exactly what you are asking. How do we really make our students relevant? But this one specifically with entrepreneurship. And the answer is that entrepreneurship is for everyone, whether you are studying computing or you are studying engineering or health. It's not just for the commerce field. So if students are given this ability to be able to be entrepreneurial, to be able to find jobs and also to create jobs for others, then we have answered that question. So we are putting together a curriculum that speaks to that, but more so also a plan to entice all other faculties to be able to uptake entrepreneurship so that they are enabled to be able to be ready for the work, for the job market. Another possibility, we already mentioned, I should not mention what we are already doing, but it's always good to note that we have strengthened our curriculum framework to make sure that it responds to the industry needs. And the industry is part of that curriculum framework by providing inputs and also collaborations. Perhaps what we could do better, it's not just to have a once-off stop, PEC meeting, Program Advisory Committee meeting. It should be on continuous basis where they come, they even inspect, they give us inputs on what we could do better instead of just a once-off type of engagement. So with that, I think we could do better. And also to bring them on the table. They should be seen as part and valued as part of curriculum development because we are producing these students for them. And that engagement needs to be made robust. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. I think we've got some online questions. Marjorie?
Our first question is from Tuhafeni Helao. Well-crafted presentation. However, the free university education introduced by the government may impact teaching and learning in terms of financial students' commitments and outcomes. How will you address such challenges to ensure that they are not disrupt your teaching and learning ecosystem?
Thank you very much, Tuafeni, for this question. It's something that we've been pondering. And coming to that, we thought that the free education is a subsidized education by the government, where the modus of operandi is that students will not pay tuition, but they may pay other administrative costs, perhaps accommodation and the rest. So therefore, students' commitment towards that shouldn't be a major concern at this point because it's subsidized. And as such, what next we need to do is to have a tuition recovery plan for every student that is registered. And with such recovery plan, of course, I've alluded to a committee that will make sure that the system works. So it shouldn't be a concern at this point. Thank you.
All right. The second question from Helsona Ikua. Considering that the infrastructure, buildings, and technological assets at the Namibia University of Science and Technology are aging, how would you transform and modernize the campus to enhance teaching, learning, and the use of technology, in particular preparation for the introduction of the free education in 2026?
Thank you, Ikuwa, for your question. Yes, the introduction is imminent. It's just now around the corner. The modernization requires a plan, which may take some time. But the key priorities would basically be on actually infrastructure expansion in terms of, let's say, prefabricated for some of our satellite campuses and even for Windhoek. And in terms of digital, we have a digital roadmap from the Digital Transformation Department, which we will use so as to expand broadband access, as well as, if possible, collaborate with partners for some sort of digital devices, especially for the students in the most rural areas, which will be going to our regional campus for service delivery. So such plan is imminent, and it's something that we really appreciate and are able to do within the time frame. Thank you.
The third question from Shambiru. Nowadays, for an institution to be competitive, it needs more professors, and NUST has less professors. How will your leadership tackle this in the next 3 years or 5 years if you'd like? What is your target numbers for professors, especially in the STEM field?
Shamil, your question is quite relevant as part of the strategic plan review committee. This is one of the areas we have taken note of, that our professors, in terms of attraction and attrition, is a concern. The main reasons for issues with attraction at times are our offers. And in terms of offers, we can really benchmark to see what other universities are doing. Of course, there is also HR issues related to that. I'm very happy with the recent memo, which speaks about our medical aid now being covered 80%. Such measures really make our pay or net pay more attractive. And as that, we should be able to attract. And also in terms of retention, we do currently already have awards for best researchers of the year, etc. Perhaps to also benchmark further to see how can we robust such celebrations to entice. But very importantly, is through sabbaticals and also adjunct lecturing. With sabbaticals, when I speak to other deans in other universities, what they actually do, they allow their staff members to go anywhere else for a year, and it's fully paid by the sending university. So if we can really invest more on sabbatical and adjunct lecturers for professors that can come from other places for a year or 2 years, really we are going to improve the numbers. But very importantly, we also want to increase our timber, our own people, Namibians that can take up the challenge. And as such, every faculty dean, every associate dean and the head of department should have that as a priority to ensure that capacity building is at core. One such can be pairing, upcoming or middle, we call them mid-career researchers, senior lecturers, to be paired with professors so that when they co-publish, the number of publications increases and then they can actually be promoted. So we have a very good example of that from many of our faculties. We are trying to do that. Thank you.
I think she's only got a minute to go. I think we can release her, because asking a question now within a minute, she will not have time to respond to that. So I just want to thank Prof. Semente for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chairperson and colleagues.
I think Yvonne will give you further direction from here. Thank you. Okay, we're told we've got 5 minutes before the next candidate comes in, so please do stretch your legs.
Guess what? The password went on again.
Oh,
Oh, is this, did they take it with the other
no,
one?
it's right there. It's right there on your left, on your right, sorry.
I don't know if she even wants it. Oh, I see why this is here.
Nice. Test it now.
Yeah.
Welcome back. We have our third candidate in the name of Professor Teresia Kaulihowa. Please do welcome her. Prof. I think her 15 minutes for presentation starts now, and then the next 15 minutes will be question time. So I'll start counting us from now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, panel members, NAST management, as well as those that are watching online. Let me welcome you to these presentations, and I thank you for your time to be listening to me today. As I present this topic, which was given to me for my candidacy for the Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Teaching, Learning and Technology at NAST. The topic which was given to me is strengthening teaching, learning and digital transformation outcomes to position NAST as a leading African university of applied sciences. In today's presentation, this is my outline. I'll give you a brief bio, especially for those that are online. They might not have my resume. And then I'll also highlight on my leadership philosophy. I'll give you a contextual analysis of higher education to give you a context before we move into the vision, strategic priorities, and then implementation approaches as well as monitoring. Strategies for implications for the NAST TLT agenda, and finally, I then conclude. To the community that we serve, the public online, I'm a full professor of economics. I am also part of the top 10 female scientists in the country, according to the AD Index. I currently serve as a deputy chairperson of the NCRIC, that's the National Commission of Research, Science and Technology. And I have also served as a commissioner for the Namibian Competition Commission. I serve on the academic board member of the African Economic Research Consortium. I also served as an academic board member for the Chartered Institute of Development Finance. It's a global body. And I'm an inaugural member of the Pan-African Scientific Research Council that's hosted at Princeton University. And then briefly, my leadership philosophy is that I lead with a human-centered, data-transformed, and technology-enabled approach. And my philosophy is really anchored in inclusive innovation, collaborative governance, and transformed teaching and learning technology leadership that must empower people, strengthen academic culture, and build an agile digital economic systems, enhance the 21st century teaching pedagogy. I'll then go down to the context before we move to the vision. The context, I'll move to the global, where we are global arena, where we are operating from. And the aspect of higher education is really coming from the international context of sustainable development goals. And those that strictly speak to the quality of education and that speak to tertiary education in particular. So you have goal 4, quality of education, and you can also see, as in 2024, how have we progressed in terms of higher education. And you see that for, let's say, TVET and tertiary education, there is some stagnation there, and there are also in areas whereby there's a regress, an indication that regress is real, and there's heterogeneity on how we attain those globally, and then giving a platform for a dynamic shift for us to transform the higher education sector to drive the goals that we want to attain. And also, again, global context. If you look at the global landscape, what are our key risks? Our key areas are on inequality issues, on misinformation and disinformation, as well as economic discord. So the aspect of digital transformation in higher education should then be implemented in a manner that it addresses the current reality that we face as a country that lives in a global village. Again, education context at a national level, this lies in our National Development Agendas, NDP6, as well as Vision 2030, which hardly talk about a knowledge-based economy, capable institutional capacity, and it goes, and in particular advanced in technology, which is critical and also in line with today's topic. So that brings then, with that context, I can then bring you to my vision. So my vision for the positions of the Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Teaching and Learning at NUST is then to position NUST as a leading African university known for innovative pedagogy, digital excellence, and inclusive high-level learning that empower graduates for a dynamic global economy. And with these visions lies then my strategic intent that will help me to drive this vision for the TLT position, which is really just to drive NUST digital and pedagogical transformation by enhancing human-centric innovation, data-driven academic governance, and an agile learning ecosystem. So that's my strategic intent. Coming then to the strategic priorities to attain the vision that I have explained earlier, the strategic priorities lies on digital transformation and curriculum innovation. So given the realities that we are in today, that are also given on the landscape that we expect the increase in student numbers. If you look at Times Higher Education 2020, focusing on 2035, is focusing on how higher education institutions are likely to progress. There's an indication that in Southern Africa, we expect an increase in student numbers. So we need to digitalize our pedagogies and also to ensure that we are at pace with them, with the pedagogical expectations of the 21st century. The next point is that of staff capability and enhanced technology adoption, because staff is critical, staff is key. Without staff, if they are not empowered and if they are not motivated, they will not be able to lead the vision. So it's very important that this vision, it empowers staff and they feel part and parcel of it. And also technology adoption, because you have early adopters, you have late adopters. It's very important to take those into considerations, ensure that even late adopters are taken care of, there are incentives in place to allow late adopters to be included. And the third strategic priorities is that of inclusive, adaptive, and student-centric learning, whereby we develop a system. And as we have seen, when we are looking at the global risk environment, we had inequality issues. And Namibia is one of the countries with a higher level of inequality. So the student that we are dealing with will be so much diversified. You have those that are in Windhoek, in remote areas. How will we ensure that this vision or this initiative is inclusive enough? So we have to design systems that allow inclusivity for any other learner who might want to study, let's say, in an area where there's poor connectivity. The student should have a choice to study, to decide where do they want to study, when, and how. And we should design systems that allow personalized assessments as well as personalized learning. Those are the key strategic priorities. In terms of the implementation approach and monitoring, so we implement by establishing a digital learning and assessment innovation hub. Because that is important. If we are moving digitally, there is a clear need for content creation and content delivery, that is for teaching and learning. And we also then have to identify pathways. How do we align assessment to a digital pedagogy? So that is critical. Thirdly, I'll then also develop a technology adoption incentive framework, and that is mainly to staff members and also to students, because you need a framework whereby staff members feel that they are part of the process and they will own it, and then they will then drive the transformation agenda. Thirdly, implement learning analytics and early warning systems That is to track progress and also to identify limitations where we are not doing well, as well as limitations for students for, let's say, earlier led programs. And this has to be sequenced in such a way that, remember, you are dealing with a diversity of students, which have facing different challenges, which can be financial, they can be social, or they can be psychological. These earlier led programs, this system, they should be so structured in such a way that if the problem is academic, then that can go directly to the head of the department or to the executive dean. If the problem is psychological, then that can go to the dean of students. So it should be structured in that particular way. And then design a flexible multimodal learning pathways like micro-credentials, short courses, and in that order. In terms of monitoring, as a Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Teaching, Learning and Technology, I'll then set up a steering committee that will track progress that might consist of executive dean that will ensure that we remain on track. I'll also set up the DVC-TLT dashboard that will be able to capture real-time progress on how we are progressing in terms of teaching, learning, digital adoption, and student success, as well as LMS, learning management systems, analytics dashboard, also to alert us in terms of our earlier-led programs. In terms of challenges and implications for this initiative, the challenge can be institutional, pedagogical, infrastructure, and also quality assurance implications. At the institution level, as you see, Namibia is a small open economy, and then there are challenges that small countries and that are sometimes not so much resilient to external shocks that will affect our operations should there be any disruptions in the system. And as well as pedagogical challenges, of which it can be uneven across staff members. And then you need to address those uneven pedagogical across staff members. Infrastructure that is critical. This can be physical infrastructure, or it can be network infrastructures, or any other infrastructure that's needed to drive the digital transformation agenda. But then, if they have a pressure on the physical infrastructure, digital transformation in terms of harnessing AI, it can come on board to alleviate pressure on physical infrastructures. But then again, there are underlying costs that are associated with that. And quality assurance is very critical. At times, you will notice that, let's say, for the faculties of engineering, their programs are heavily regulated by the Engineering Council, and it might be very difficult for them to quickly change that curriculum to digital transformation. So those are some of the quality assurance challenges. In conclusion, is that with this vision, I position us to lead Africa in applied technology-enhanced education, transformed teaching and learning through ethical technology, modern pedagogy, and evidence-based practice, to produce future-ready graduates aligned with local, regional, and international accreditation framework. And my first 100 days in the office will be to set a foundation for a future-ready NUST, one that advances the digital teaching and learning ecosystem, it empowers people, and lead with a purpose and deliver with accountability. I thank you.
Thank you, Prof. I would now like to open, well, if I could even finish. Okay. Mr. Kanji, and now let me give the lady first an opportunity, and then Mr. Kanji. May we have a mic?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you, Prof. Teresa, for your beautiful
Let me just get my
presentation.
notebook ready, please. So I'll find a paper and a pen here.
Is a pen here?
I'll find one. Yes, I found one.
Okay, can I go ahead? Okay, Prof. Your plans were very practical
and they were exemplary for transforming us to teaching excellence. But the plans will have financial implications. So what are your plans to finance these plans while upgrading existing infrastructure without depleting our current resources or compromising on quality?
Thank you so much.
Can we get a second question then?
Thank you, Prof. Usually I don't give accolades to presenters, but I should say that your presentation was very impressive. I'm very impressed by your presentation.
Thank you.
2 questions, very short one. One is about, I want to get it, what I want to ask is it's around dropout rate, the failure rate of students. You talk about increasing student enrollment, and it's happening in Africa. Now, currently, at the university, where you're going to be the head, our failure rate is more than 30%. Now, if you have more students enrolling at the university, with the pressure that it's going to put on the system, which is workload, facilities, classrooms, or resources, and so on, that, I think, invariably also going to increase our dropout rate or failure rate. And you can never have a leading university if you have more students failing. So what are your reflection or thoughts around that? The second one is that you are talking about transformation of curriculum and so on. Now, one of my concerns, as I've been part of the graduate survey, is unemployed graduates. We have many of them. And this is caused by 2 things. One is the market, where there is no job for them. The second one is programs we are delivering or offering at the universities. They are also lead to unemployed graduates. And you are in a very good position because you come from human sciences faculty where most of these students are on the street. So what are you going to, how are you going to resolve that? What will be your strategic interventions in resolving that issues, particularly at the level of qualifications and programs we are offering at the university?
Thank you. Prof, I would propose that you really economize your time. We've got 3 more questions from online viewers. So,
thank you so much for the question. They are quite intriguing, but I will address them in the order they were posted. In terms of financial implications, yes, it's common knowledge that finance is a constraint. But so is without digital transformation, because if you don't have digital transformation, you still perhaps have to build spaces to accommodate students, build physical labs, and the like. You are still going to spend money either ways. But here, we are saying that what can we do better to optimize the resources that we have? And one way, if you are dealing with a faculty like commerce with large student numbers, so instead of going to build a 4-story building to accommodate those, you can invest that money into digital infrastructure, and you are able to increase the numbers without putting pressure on your physical infrastructure, and by also not increasing cost. That is one. The second question is on the global trend on student enrollment and the failure rate of greater than 30%. Yes, you are correct on that. And NAST is a public institution, and NAST is there to help the government to drive its national development agendas. And if the problem is a dropout rate, then access, increasing enrollment, it's not a problem. The problem is addressing what is causing the dropout rate. So perhaps we need the curriculum overhaul, or we need a change in leadership to ensure that the issues of leadership are addressed, because we cannot say that because of higher dropout rate, then don't admit more students. So we should address the problem of dropout rate, of which then it's a challenge for, if I take up this as a DVC for teaching and learning, how can I better address the current dropout rate? The third one, it's on transformation and the issues of unemployed graduates. Again, true to that, there are many courses or many programs that are highly saturated, and there are also those that are not so much saturated, like TVET for trainers, like veterinarians or agronomists. But the whole idea is that the current feel of the industry is that the university are producing graduates that do not fully align to what do they want as an industry. So that should pose a challenge to us as academic institutions to ensure that the program that we offer are aligned to the industry demand. And not only that, the program that we offer generate or produce graduates that are able to create employment, that they should be highly equipped and they should be employment providers other than just job seekers. I thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Marjorie.
The first question is from Selma Hilu. NAST offers some unique high-demand programs that are not available anywhere else in the country. However, the institution is unable to absorb all qualified students who require internship or placements, and this challenge has persisted for many years now. If you are appointed as the DVC TLT, how will you improve the situation that more students are accommodated, as this will provide opportunities for the graduates to go and work anywhere globally? The second question, in other institutions of higher learning globally, especially outside the African continent, research is one of the key models students continue to take from their undergraduate all the way. However, the same is not the case at NAST. I'm speaking from an alumni point of view. The little research mostly starts at honors level, and most of the time students are not properly told on how to do research. Is this something you are aware of or not? If you are aware, how will your leadership address this as a matter of urgency? Then that question is from Shambiru. The next question is from Abna. Congratulations, Prof, for a well-articulated presentation. How would you ensure that online learning platforms and technology-enhanced courses meet the needs of engineering students in Namibia, especially in terms of access, equity, and quality, given the country's unique infrastructure and resource challenges?
You may proceed to respond to those.
Thank you, Chair. I will address them in a manner that they were read. The first one, it was on the issues of highly relevant academic programs, but there are challenges regarding the work integrated learning. That is indeed true, and it's a very critical issue for the student, because sometimes you see these highly motivated students, they pass with flying colors, and then they can't graduate because will is outstanding. So that's why with harnessing technology, one way we can address that is to introduce the e-will initiative, whereby some of the programs can use e-will. So that's one way we can address that. The second question, it relates to research. And the candidate has indicated that research is not part of the curriculum for NQA Level 7 programs. It's also important to take cognizance that there's a national qualification framework that the universities do follow. And with that national qualification framework, it gave guidelines what should be offered at what level. I do understand that the student perhaps see research as important. This information can perhaps be incorporated in the curriculum, but it can be classified different, like a capstone project that they do at the end of the course, but not necessarily a research methodology course. So those kind of initiatives can be included. So when we revamp or revise curriculum, so we do engage the stakeholders, we do engage the students, and the prospective employers. Those are kind of initiatives that we want to take on board so that we can better serve the students if they do strongly feel that that is important at NQA level 7. The last question, it came from an engineering student, that how will I ensure that, as a Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Teaching and Learning, how will I ensure that there is equitable access and equity access to those programs? I do take cognizance that engineering programs requires certain needs as a professional qualification, and one of the key aspects that one can perhaps engage into is for virtual or remote labs. And they can use those virtual or remote. I know UNESCO has an initiative for remote labs, and then they can do online CAD and online MATLAB, and then you can make use of virtual programs to ensure that the students have access. But I do understand if you are talking about access in remote areas, they might not have sufficient connectivity to engage on those platforms, and then NAS centers can be used. Regional centers can be used to take some of those, host some of those remote labs that they can engage on, and then the students can successfully learn and do assessment if they so required. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Marjorie, how are we doing on time?
We still have 2 minutes, 50 seconds to go.
We've got 2 minutes, 50 seconds. One more question. Yes, sir. Do we have a mic?
All right. Thank you so much, Chair, for the opportunity, and thank you so much, Professor Kaulihowa, for your excellent presentation. Much appreciated. Now, I followed through your presentation. I spoke where you identify infrastructure as one of the key challenges. What I'm looking for, how do we address that fundamental challenges? How, in terms of funding, in terms of digital infrastructure for not just for teaching and learning, but for assessment. And currently, you recall that we implemented the hybrid learning mode in February this year. And that policy was approved by the Governing Council. And currently, our problem is assessment. How do we acquire this digital technology for assessment, and where our students could study, could write assessment online in a controlled environment? Now, thank you.
Can I? Thank you very much, Professor Tiku, for that. In my presentation, in terms of infrastructure as a challenge, that the digital infrastructure apply mostly to that context, because we are talking about a digitalized academic ecosystem. And yes, you are right. In terms of online assessment, we need systems like proctoring, which will allow our students to be assessed online ethically. So in that way, the good part is that NAS is at the end of the 5-year cycle of the current strategic plan. And we, as a university, we are now preparing the 2026-2030 strategic plan. So the council members are here. These are some of the things that they will see in the strategic plan. That's what the staff members want, and I strongly believe that they will support us to drive the financing of the digital infrastructure so that NAST can operate as a university of science and technology in terms of teaching, learning, and assessment. I thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Is it a comment, Prof. Nkondo?
Just a small comment. I hear in the presentation high dropout rate. I don't know from which report, because our evaluation last year for the strategic plan, it was not like that. Like high dropout. It was relatively low.
Percentage?
I don't know. Maybe it is the current, but the evaluation of last year's strategic plan performance. It was.
What would you want to clarify then? What would you want
I don't have the statistic now for last year performance, but I don't think the dropout was high last year. I don't know this year.
Okay, Mr. Kanji.
Yes, I have a report from last year.
The report say
32% dropout rate.
Can we give
The
Mr.
failure
Kanji
rate.
to basically give us whether it's dropout or failure? Whatever the report says.
No, it's failure rate of 38. That's what I said, even failure rate
We are
of
talking
more than
of dropout is
30%.
not correct.
Yes. So there's a difference between dropout and failure rate.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Nikondo, for that. I think I'd like to thank Prof. I'd like to thank Prof. Kaul. I just want to get the name, Kaulihowa, for the presentation. Thank you for your job well done. I think Yvonne will take you further from here. Before everybody leaves the room, I think I made an omission in the beginning when we came in, when we started. I did not introduce the panel members for this interview. So as much as some of you made them yesterday, I would still want for you to just meet the panel members. Yesterday we had a different external panel member. Today we do have a different panel member. So I'll start with, on my far left, in terms of the intros. I think, do you have a mic there?
Good afternoon. My name is Meiko Shalimba. I'm the Senate representative to NAS Council.
Everyone know you didn't look at them. You didn't face them. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stanley. I'm the chair of the HRMCO Council.
Good afternoon. I'm Erica Maas. I'm the external panel member, registrar at UNAM.
Yes, this is Nikondo. Yeah. So,
we do have another panel member. She left earlier after the second presentation, but she's online. She's joined us online, and her name is Rachel. Her name is Rachel Kalipi. My name is Norandopu. I'm the deputy chairperson of council.
maybe I was about to say the outgoing DVC teacher. Yes.
Our candidate is ready, so we don't have to have the leg stretch. Stay put. Is the presentation ready? It's on, okay. Good afternoon and welcome, Professor Philemon Nangolo.
Good afternoon,
Good.
Chair.
Your 30 minutes starts now. You've got 15 minutes to present,
Yeah.
and then 15 minutes for question time.
All right. Yeah, this. Okay. I think I'll just use this one. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present my vision and strategic approach for this role of DVC teaching and learning. I want to tell you a story, and that story is about how a nurse student will look like in 2030. Every story starts with a vision, and mine is very simple. That is basically to empower future-ready graduates through a transformative and inclusive education. As NAST, we should be able to tell good stories, stories with a shared purpose that converges towards the North Star. And that is empowering minds for holistic student success. Now, this vision is strategically aligned to the national development priorities, such as the NDP 6. It is a vision that is guided by the educational legislative framework and professional bodies. It is a vision that is aligned to the NAST Act 7 of 2015 and the ISBP. Most importantly, it is a vision that is aligned to the wishes of the people. Now, this vision, of course, will be governed through the national governance framework. It is a vision that is informed by the labor market survey of 2019 and the skill gap analysis that were recently concluded. It is a vision that is framed within the ICT governance framework. And as we dream together, we should be aware of the disruption in the operating environment. This is the core of this transformation agenda. The study journey of a student will become a value creation stream where performance, graduate attributes, competence skills, and dispositions will be captured. Micro-credential and stackable framework will be embedded in this system, and that is to support lifelong learning, upskilling, and reskilling. The longitudinal graduate tracking system will measure the product we produce as NAST and the product of the quality that the industry needs. But as we expand, we should also be aware of the gap between basic education and higher education. And we should be able to upskill that gap that we have identified. We are going to develop academic integrity and AI ethical use, academic literatures and metacognitive skills to bring our learners from basic education to a level where they are critical thinkers and have good reasoning. On the other side, we also need to connect. We know that there is a digital divide in terms of access, in terms of skills, and that need to be bridged. We are going to engage our partners in the industry, especially the telecommunication industry, to partner with us to offer zero rate access to this platform, which is the digital, the student digital passport. Now, our learning ecosystem will be a living organism that consumes industrial challenges. In there, we will have the National Digital Twin and the e-wheel platform. These are replica simulations where we are going to capture national assets, such as Transnamib, NamPower, NamPort, Road Authority, where students can do the virtual work. We know that the number is coming with a free education, and somehow we need to find a way to upscale. Physically, we can expand in a short period of time, but we can virtually accommodate the number coming for next year. We also know that the operating environment of the industry is very time sensitive. And this is where we are always left behind because our curriculum review cycle is very short. So we will need to collaborate with the industry to shorten that cycle. We need to do authentic assessment for real life problems. Expand and optimize blended and hybrid offering. We are going to capture the skills needed by the industry through what I call the curriculum mapping for graduate attributes. Programs that are showing red means they need to upgrade, and programs with a green reflection means that they are doing a good job and they are connected to the industry. We also need to upscale the skills of our students, and we are going to do that through the digital fluence framework. We can't do this without the educator. We will need to help them grow, capacitate them, support them. So we are going to have a professional development framework which is a complement to the existing one. Nothing changes. This is not a plan to change anything, it's just to complement and strengthen us. This framework will be embedded in the HR codes. That is the probation, the performance, and also the promotion. We will have a 50-50 professor that has 50% workload in the industry, 50% workload academia. This professor is fully paid or on the payroll of the university. However, the industry space is to identify challenges, to identify opportunities that they can bring to the university for real life practical work for the students. On the other side, identify students who have potential to go and solve problems in the industry. We will also have professors of practice. These are experts in the industry who need to bring their part on what they apply in the industry so that our students do practical work, real life problems. We need to celebrate teaching excellence, and we will do that through recognition and leadership programs. We have to have events such as, just as research is important at the university, we must also acknowledge teaching excellence. We will also have to bring our educators to the level that they can use the new industrial revolution tools. and we will develop those programs together. This vision is very ambitious, and it needs a very strong spine. So the Central Academic Innovation Board is the brain of this vision, where we will have all executive deans, the director of ICT, and the director of ADS, to participate with the industry, at least experts of CEOs that we can select in which area the direction of education should go. The NAS Data Command Center will be its nervous system that derives the data that we will have to make important decisions to go forward. We also need to modernize our infrastructure to keep up with the pace of the new industrial revolution education. This plan will be done in 3 phases. The foundation, where we'll have to learn, see what works, what doesn't work, and what needs to be changed. Understand the systems, processes, and people. Once we have that knowledge, we will then upscale. And in the final stage, we will measure our maturity and impact. This plan will be implemented on a blended investment model that is shared by NAST, industry, and the government. We should also be aware of mitigating or the risk that comes with such a change. These are our partners. We have to have concrete agreement, MOUs, for this to function. We need to manage faculty resistance, put programs in place to support them, uplift them. And we should also be aware of the technological rapid change to keep up. These are my measurable outcomes for students, for faculty and staff, for academic programs, for institutional strength, and overall. The strategic summary here is basically to create a NAST graduate prototype 2030 that is employable, digitally skilled, and ethically grounded. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. I will now open up for questions from the floor and also online. If we have any hands up at the back. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Professor, for a very clear presentation. You have some very clear implementation targets, but you also know that you will not be the actual head of the institution. You will be supporting.
Mm-hmm.
How will you make sure that your vision is also supported by the head of the institution?
Thank you very much, Prof. I think this is a shared vision. It is not a replacement of the entire university, but the DVC, teaching, learning, and technology, will basically implement what the university has planned for the next 5 years. And that is, of course, looking at the ISBP KPIs that we have formulated, specifically related to the teaching and learning unit. And with that, of course, we will have to then plan and align our implementation plan to the university's vision and the mission, of course. We will have to play around that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Any further questions? Okay, Marjorie.
Good presentation, Prof. Nangolo. What concrete steps will you take to support faculties in integrating digital technologies into curriculum delivery without widening inequalities among students and campuses? This question is from Lucas Ngihalwa.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. I think it's a question that is relevant to such a transformation. And I think this is one of those things that we need to look at. I mean, I spoke about the upskilling of our educators, the students. Of course, we will have to allocate resources to academic units. We will have to support them to basically capacitate them so that we are able to smoothly implement this transition. And that is in terms of resources, in terms of skills, in terms of the new processes that we are going to develop. It needs to be a shared agenda. And that is, of course, we need to formulate it or frame it in a way that everybody buys into this strategy. And we will have to engage each faculty, each academic unit support, and of course, listen to them first, understand what is it that works, what doesn't work, and how are we going to basically have to support them. What are the resources that they need? What is it that we have to change? So there must be that discussion among the academics units under the teaching and learning technology unit. Thank you.
How are we doing? You have one more question?
Yes.
Okay, before then, I give to Prof. After Marjorie. You can have the floor.
All right. We have one online question from Yambiru. Beyond a single research method model, how will you ensure that the cutting-edge research conducted by NAS staff is actively integrated into the undergraduate course content in order to make it more relevant and exciting, especially the work that was done by Prof. Kwamba on the moringa tree?
Yeah, it is a relevant question, and I think it is one of those things that we have to implement. I spoke about the Teaching and Technology Innovation Lab. This is an ecosystem where educators and students co-create initiatives that can enrich our programs. This is more on a kind of a research agenda, the question itself, but I think it is relevant. We can still implement what is the research outcome into our curriculum. I spoke about the 50-50 professor, and that is exactly what we want. We want to identify challenges. We want to identify opportunities with respect to teaching and learning with a component of research, because it has to be done at the undergraduate level, all going up to graduate levels, masters and PhD. We will want to identify potential students for retention. That is one of the most key components here. Yeah.
This gentleman there.
Thank you, Prof, for that for your presentation. One of the key documents that drives teaching and learning is the curriculum framework. I don't know how familiar you are with the current one. It has been revised, and we are waiting for approval by council. Mm. And you suggest in your presentation that the curriculum review period should be shorter in collaboration with the industry. if you were going to be the successful candidate, you are really coming in to implement the current curriculum framework because it is a 5-year document. So how are you going to deal with that? Because there is a curriculum already that has been discussed, has been agreed by the professors in the university and so on and so forth, including the industry. So how do you plan to deal with that? There's a document. Are you going to put it aside, or there are some elements that you are going to remove, or how are you going to approach the implementation of that curriculum framework?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think this is a shared commitment, and that commitment is to make, to strengthen the university in terms of teaching and learning. Of course, these are documents that has passed the different levels of the curriculum framework, but it is not something that we are going to replace in a way. We can still, for now, continue with that as we experiment the prototype that we are going to build. It can be done through phases. Currently, of course, this is a document that, as you say, that it is already approved. It went through the stages of the curriculum framework. So it is something that we need to discuss. We need to start from somewhere. We need to find a way. What is the better way? How do we optimize what we currently have? I think this is a discussion that all academic units, all support units within the TLT division need to have a discussion on. And we should then come to a common agreement on the way forward. But the whole idea here is that we need to shorten the cycle, because we all know the system and ecosystem or operating system of the industry is very time sensitive. Tomorrow or next year, there is something different. And that keeps us far away. That gap keep getting bigger and bigger because we can't keep up. And what is the use of producing products quality that does not match those who want to utilize it? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Prof, any further question? The last one, perhaps? Okay. Is it? Let me start with the gentleman, with Odilo and then Marjorie, and then you can have the last one. How are we doing with time? 1 minute each, please, for the three.
All right, I'll make it very short.
Okay, Marjorie, please proceed. No, Odilo, sorry.
All right, thank you so much, Prof, for the masterclass presentation. My question touches specifically on your pillar 3, that is champion of NAST educators. Now, obviously, realizing this dream will require that you rely on the good performance of your top core employees. Now, I'm not saying NAST has a problem with staff turnover or whatsoever, but I just want to know what strategies will you have in place to ensure that the institution is able to hold on to its core employees in order to create a competitive advantage in your position as DVC chair?
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
We have Omegi Itula. She says, what strategies would you put in place to ensure equitable access for disadvantaged or vulnerable students?
Thank you so much, Chair, for the opportunity. And thank you so much, Prof, for your presentation. I followed through. And my first question will be on the 50-50 professor, which is very laudable. It gives opportunity for university-industry collaboration, which is commendable. But how would you deal with the workload policy that was approved by Council this year, which does not give room for such 50-50 workload? That is one. Number two, slide 6, you mentioned flexible work curriculum framework. Curriculum flexible. You can scroll to that. Slide 7, yes.
This one?
No. Next, before your last slide is 7. The sixth one would be yes.
This is the 6th.
Yes, the next one then. Yes, you spoke about, that slide spoke about the flexible curriculum framework where we have to be flexible in our curriculum or delivery of our curriculum. So the question then is, how will you deal with external quality assurance like NQA and NCHE that are very robust in terms of that? But I must commend that your idea of us need to make our curriculum more flexible is laudable, but I'm just needing your relational capital in terms of getting buy-in from our line ministry and the NCHE. Thank you.
Yeah, Prof, if you can just show me where I spoke about that, because I'm not sure which is what. I don't think I spoke about the flexible curriculum.
Maybe the previous. Curriculum mapping, graduate approval, digital fluency framework. But you can't find it, it's fine with that.
No, I've not spoken about flexible curriculum.
Okay, it's fine.
Yeah. I would like to start with the question of accessibility. And this is basically the Connect Namibia that I spoke about. This is an initiative that will incorporate the industry players such as Telecom, Namibia, MTC, Paratus, and so on. Here, we are going to work together to give students access to connectivity and of course, formulate bundles that are helpful to the study of students. Currently, of course, with MTC, you have a 50 cent per 50 megawatts. If you put that together for a certain period of hours in a day, for the whole year, that's about 3,000 a student have to pay. Telecom is at 25 cents. This is still not affordable to students. We can formulate bundles where we have 20 megawatts for $100. The 100 is zero rated access from Telecom. The other 10 megawatts is basically what the student buys. That's the $100. 20 megawatts is enough for students to run through the learning management system, the e-learning, and other platforms that student needs for their studies. That is a model that we have to have discussion with the industry players. The other thing is access to devices. And this can be a shared initiative too. We will have to have something that we call a loan device, where students, those that are identified who have difficulty to search, can be given devices that can be paid off at a lower rate. We cover part of it. The student throughout the 4 years, they are going to then add on until that becomes theirs after their study. So those are basically strategies that we can have in place. And then the connectivity, of course, again, we will have to talk to our partners, the players in the telecommunication industry. Thank you. Now, I have forgotten the first question. I think it was about...
It was on strategies that will ensure that you return on your top performing or competitive employees?
Yes. Is it in terms of workload or in general?
Well, it's in general, because creating a competitive advantage relies on the retention of top employees.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And part of the strategy that I have formulated is to develop those top tiers professors and retain them. There must be programs for incentives, programs to capacitate them. The reason why we are exposing them to the industry is because we want to formulate such excellent in teaching of professors at the university. That's what we want. And with that, we will hope we will then be able to feed or basically give reasons why our top tier professor must stay at the best university in this country. And of course, in 5 years, we'll be regionally. Thank you.
Thank you. Are all questions answered? I think that was the last one. Thank you very much, Prof. Philemon Nangolo.
Thank you very much.
We may please just appreciate him. I think you are done here. Yvonne will give you further guidance from here.
Thank you.
Let me just take this opportunity for really just to appreciate everyone that attended this session, physically and online. It was really a pleasure having you, question the candidates. These are your potential DVCs. So thank you for the support. Thank you for the questioning. We appreciate that. Thank you. Was I told that Prof. Harmony Musierera would be paying for the drinks?